Hello everyone. I hope you guys can hear me and thank you for attending this session today. So before we start, let me quickly share my screen. All right. Okay. So let me quickly give you my introduction. So my name is Suchita Doshi and I work as a UI engineer at Yahoo. And I also believe that all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. So in my leisure time, I play cricket and I also play musical instruments like keyboard and guitar. And otherwise, I also contribute to the open source community for Ember. So this is something about myself. So now let's jump on to our main topic, which is Emberjs. But before that, let's see what our lives would be without Ember. To see that, let's meet Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob is an expert JavaScript developer, and he thinks that why should I use all these modern JavaScript frameworks, right? I can code anything and everything using just JavaScript or jQuery. So I don't need to use like Angular or Backbone or Emberjs. Going forward, one day Bob's manager comes and says, "Hey Bob, can you implement a to-do app for me?" Bob says, "Sure, why not? Give me the requirements, I'll just implement it for you." Bob goes in, writes everything in pure JavaScript, jQuery, and delivers the whole app. And his manager is very happy, and so is Bob. And the product goes live, it becomes very famous, and they get a lot of customer feedbacks as well as requirements. This concludes that Bob's manager needed more people to work on this code base. So his manager hired 2 more developers to work on top of this code and develop few more things. At this time, Bob was not working on the to-do app. He was working on some other product. Fast forward, 2 months later, Bob's manager thinks that now I need Bob to work on my to-do app again because it's becoming bigger and bigger and he needs to implement 2-3 more functionalities. So he asks Bob, "Hey Bob, can you please help me implementing 2 or 3 functionalities more?" Bob says, "Sure, why not? I mean, I know the code, I have written this code." But when he comes and he sees the code, he is baffled. He's like, "Oh my God, what is this? This is not my code." The other 2 developers, they have written a lot of new code, which is not the style that Bob was used to writing. So this whole code was a mixture of Bob's style of writing the code and the other 2 developers writing the code, as well as there was no modularity. Also, all the bindings in the code were floating here and there. So Bob was depressed and he was like, "Oh my God, now how am I going to understand this code? And I can't immediately write my new code on top of this." Bob thinks, "Okay, I'll sit for the whole night, understand it, and I will write the new code." So you see here how productivity is declined in this case. Looking at all this, there was someone who came to Bob's rescue. That is Mr. Tomster. So Mr. Tomster is basically the mascot for Emberjs. Tomster says, "Hey Bob, don't worry. I will help you sorting out your issues." So now see, how is our life with Emberjs? Emberjs is based off on the principle of MVC design pattern. With MVC, I mean Model View Controller. And I hope here everyone knows what is MVC. And for people who need a refresher, MVC is like model. Model is the one that holds the data for you, the one that defines the data. The view is the thing that you see on the screen. And controller is the middleman who will talk to the view, give the data to the, say, server or the third-party database, and vice versa. So this is in a nutshell how MVC works. So Amber, along with a special thing named routes. Amber heavily depends on route, and this is the beauty of Amber, which you will see in the upcoming slides and the live demo that I'll be showing you guys. This is how the architecture works. The route will talk to the model to fetch the data from it, and then it will push the data to the view layer. The view layer here is your template, view, and controller. So basically think about it as this way. Route gets the data from the database and it gives the data to the view layer. And currently in Ember 2.0 and further versions, the view layer that you see here, the view template, now that is called the component layer. We don't use view anymore. Instead of that, we use component, which I'll be covering in next few slides. So let's see what are the topics that I would be covering today. I'll be covering the convention over configuration nature of Ember, Ember routes, model, controllers, components, templates, introduction to Ember CLI, which would be pretty helpful for you guys, and a live demo of whatever I speak before here. Let's jump on to the first topic, convention over configuration. Now, why is convention over configuration so much emphasized for Ember? Let's take an example. Say you have an app which includes multiple routes. For now, let's take two routes, /home and /about. Imagine as you have www.example.com/home and www.example.com/about. Now, thinking of it to create this whole thing in pure JavaScript, how would you do it? You would be thinking, oh, I'll have to configure so many things to combine my template or my view with my route, as well as the database layer, and also all sort of fancy things. Ember tells you, don't worry about it. Give me the correct naming convention. I will do the rest of the things for free. By free, what I mean is, like I said, it's www.example.com/about. Now, if you have about.hbs, which is a template file in your folder structure, Ember will hook it up by itself. You don't have to do anything. It will make more sense when I show you the live demo. But for now, just understand that if you give the correct naming with the correct directory structure, Ember will do everything for you for free. Okay, let's move on to the main part of Ember. Let's start with router. So router, it manages the state of your application. When I say state of your application, what I mean is, say for example, you want to share your link with someone, or you want to refresh your page, or you want to bookmark your page. What would you do? Or what would you expect? You would expect whatever you're seeing right now should be the same when you refresh the page or when you share the link to someone else, right? So router is the one that is responsible for making sure that your data is intact. When you see here in this screenshot, you see this .route about and path about. What does this define? You see this path /about. This is basically what you see on your URL link /about, example.com/about. And you are saying to Ember that whenever you encounter this particular path /about, go to a route named about.js and a template named about.hbs. You remember I said convention over configuration? This is what I was talking about. You give the correct name of where Ember is supposed to search, it will do it for free. So in this case, when you say /about, it will go into the about.hbs, which is the template file, and it will push in whatever is there in that HTML file on the screen. Let's jump on to now the route. Now the route is the one that customizes the behavior of a route. Here in this case, previously that I explained, you don't have to explicitly create a about.js route. Ember does it for you for free. It is by default. But if you want, say in this case of users route, say you want to call a third-party database or third-party API to fetch the number of users or the list of users, route is the place where you have to do all the talking with the third-party places with a special hook or function named model. What this model function does is, it does an API call and gets back the data and stores it in a variable named this.model. Now in the model variable, anywhere in your controller or your template or your view, you can just say this.model.get first name, last name, because in this case, our model is a list of user. Also, your route handles actions as well. Say in your template, there is a button which has an action called save user. Say you have a edit user page, and you are changing some attributes of the user, first name, last name, and then you say save user. This is the place where you are supposed to do all the talking of the data layer. So think about it as this. Whenever you want to talk to the third party instances, always use routes. That's all you need to know for now, and then I'll explain you later when we see the live demo. Now let's go on to the next topic, which is model. Model are the persisted objects. They basically define how your model should look like, or how your object should look like. Here, for example, we have users model. So user model, you can think of it as first name, last name, birthday, address, or something like that. So this is model. It's pretty simple. Next, we come on to controller. A controller, after Ember 2.0, we usually use controller only at the top level route. We don't use it explicitly for the inner template level or view layers, because component is the one that should handle all those cases. So controller basically is used for decorating your models. When I say decorating my models, it means if I want to create a computed property, something like is login disabled in this case. Say you have some multiple properties based on which you can compute some things and return some new data. Now you can't do this all in your HTML file. So you need a computed property which would do it for you, and I can simply say is login disabled. This basically code will return me true or false. This will all make more sense when you see it live. Okay, now let's go on to components. Components, you can think of it as a reusable chunk of code that you can use throughout your app. So say you have a component name as user info component. You can use it in several places from one route to another route. By that, what I mean is we have to make our components as dumb as possible. They should not be they should not be that intelligent to do any data level changes. They should consume the data from the one that is calling it. So here in this case, you see there is a special function named didInsertElement. Now what is this didInsertElement? I don't know if many of you guys have encountered issues like before the element is still in your DOM, you try to access it or you try to do some changes on it and you don't see that happening. It's because it's not yet in the DOM, it's not present in the DOM, and you're trying to do some functionalities on top of it. So this didInsertElement hook will ensure that, hey, I am an element and I'm already sitting in the DOM, and you can do now whatever you want. Here I'm just doing a simple thing. I'm adding a focus on my input text box. That's it. Also, it also handles actions. Now you must be thinking, routes are also handling actions, components are also handling actions. So which one should I use and when? Well, the answer is whenever you have to do something related to just the view level, say I want to just show something on the screen, that's all I want to do. I'm not planning to save something in the database. That time you handle the actions in the component. But if you want to save something in the database, you're supposed to do that in the route. So here in the example, what you see is handle save user. You remember the example that I just gave you some time back, where you are editing a user's page and you're saying save. So that will be first called by the components action. It will create the JSON object like it is supposed to be sent to the database, and then it is saying this.send action. Now when I say this.send action, that means that I'm calling my parent level route to handle this action for me. That means there should be a save user named function somewhere in my route. And here I do have the save user, right? And I am passing this user object, what I just created, and this one is consuming it. So basically this is how it works. And even this I'll be covering in the live demo so that it's easier for you to understand. All right, now let's go to a mustache. A guy with a mustache? No, I'm just kidding. Let's move on to templates. So templates, the way Ember uses the templating engine, it's handlebars. And why this mustache is because handlebars are denoted by the mustache syntax. Right now, Ember uses HTML bars, which is an enhancement of handlebars. So it's just similar to handlebar. So imagine, why do we need handlebars and why not simple HTML? Why can't I use simple HTML and show it on my view level? Well, your HTML does not, you can't iterate over things using HTML. You can't have if else or any conditional expressions using your HTML. Neither can you have data binding in your HTML files. Hence, we need this handlebar templating engine, which is very powerful. You can even create your own set of helper handlebar files and you can use them in your template file. Here in this example, I'm just iterating over the users array and then I'm showing it as a list of usernames. All right, this is something very interesting. Let me talk a little bit about Ember CLI. With Ember CLI, I mean Ember command line interface. What do I mean by that? Say you have a very good idea, an amazing app idea, and you're pumped up and you want to write this code immediately. And you say, okay, I'm going to write this code in Emberjs. Now you start thinking, okay, now since I've planned to write this on Emberjs, first I'll have to create the whole folder structure. I'll have to create all the correct conventions in order to make Ember work happily, right? Now you will spend 2 hours, 3 hours of your time, or maybe less, but you will spend some time figuring out what would be the correct folder structure if you are a newbie. Ember CLI, there's a guy who thinks that no, we should save the developers time to exactly do what they want rather than wasting their time creating the whole folder structure. So Mr. Stefan Penner, he created the Ember CLI the tool, and actually I worked with him at Yahoo, and trust me, it's an honor working with him. I've learned a lot of things from him, and he is the one who's created the Ember CLI tool, and he's also a core maintainer of Emberjs, as well as he contributes to TC39. You should check him out. He's done pretty neat job and neat work on GitHub. Just check him out if you're free. All right, coming back to our topic, all you need to do is npm install ember-cli. That will install Ember CLI in your host or in your whole machine. Then all you need to do is ember space new space the name of your app and just press enter and your whole app will be created in like 5 seconds. Trust me, it's just 5 seconds or lesser than that. Once you are done with your folder structure, you are free to write your code immediately. So you see, it makes your life so easier. So when I say one command, that one command would give you a lot many things, but few of the highlights that I feel is it gives you the JavaScript ES6, ES7 syntax for free. It automatically rebuilds and reloads. When I say rebuilds and reloads, what do you mean by that? Say you are changing something on your JavaScript file or in your template file and you save it, you don't have to manually go and build the whole app and then refresh your view or your browser. This Ember CLI will do it for free for you. Also, it will give you the conventional file architecture, the way it should be. It will provide you in the same way. You just need to add in your controllers or your components or your templates. Also, Ember thinks a good programmer is a programmer who writes tests. Hence, it will also give you some built-in unit and integration test jobs, which you need to fill in, of course, and so that your app is a complete package, a complete tested package. Okay, too much theory, right? Now let's go and jump onto some practical demo time so that whatever I spoke till now will make more sense when you see it happening in live. Okay, so let's first try out the magic of Ember CLI. As I said, I'll say Ember new, say my new app, if this is the name I'm giving. You see, boom, it created so many things for you. It created all the app structure for you. Can you see it created controllers, models, router, routes, helpers, templates, everything for you. Also, you see here they have created your test stubs as well. So basically it gives you the foundation for your app, and then you're free to start your work. Now this is installing some node modules. Till the time it installs, let's go to our editor. You can choose any editor that you select. And let's open okay my new app, and I choose it. There you go. This is the whole app that it created by itself. You didn't have to do anything in this. I'll just quickly change this jQuery dependency because Emberjs CLI right now is not supporting the latest version of jQuery. So just a small thing. Okay. So you see here, it has created the whole list of components, controllers, but this is all empty right now. Only few things are created for you, but everything else is empty right now. Let's see if this works for us. It's still installing. Okay, so till it's installing, let me give you some more insight. Okay, it's done. So power install. Oops, 1 second. Let me go to my new app. Now, when I say Emberjs, it will show you which version you're using, and the default port that Emberjs CLI gives you is 4200. You can configure your port as something else as well. You can just, there's a configurable way by doing Emberjs -- port and give your port number. Okay, so you're here, you see build successful. As soon as you see this line, that means you're all set. Let's go to our local host. Yay, here you are. You're all set. I think you guys don't need me anymore, right? Okay, that's joking. So you have your foundation ready. Now you're ready to write your new app with your all new idea. For now, today, we are going to we are going to work on 2 routes. We'll create 2 routes and play with it, okay? So before creating a route, remember I said we have to register that route in the router.js. Say I have this.route. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. This.route, I say, for example, home, and I give a path as /home. That means if I go to this /home, it should encounter a home.hbs file in my template structure. So I go here, I create a home.hbs file, and say I give a hello home, something like this. Now you must be thinking, where is this welcome to Ember coming from? I'm just creating a home route. What's this? Who's rendering this? Always understand one thing is the parent route of Ember is always application route. Here, if you see, there's an application.hbs where you can see this welcome to Ember title, right? And there is something interesting known as outlet. I'll give you a brief description of what this outlet is. I'll not go much in deep, but take for example, you have Facebook, right? Everybody uses Facebook or LinkedIn or any other website. You always see the header present on top, and whenever you scroll down, you see the child contents rendered. Imagine this something similar to that, where this title will always persist, and this outlet will be the one which will render its child routes. So for application, all the other routes are child routes. In this case, /home is going to be its child route. So whatever I type in here will be considered as an outlet for the application route. How do we fetch this hello home? I have to go here and put a HOME. That means whenever I have this path /home, it has to go and fetch the data, whatever is there in your home.hbs file. Boom, we have this here, which is this guy. This is pretty simple, right? Now say I want to do something more. Say I want to create a list of pets, dog, cat, what are the pets? Um, okay, a mouse. And then let me refresh. Alright, you can see dog, cat, mouse here. But nothing fancy, right? It's just a hard-coded set of data. But say if you have to use this chunk of code, this whole part, at many places, not just in home HBS or home route, you want to use it in several different places. What would you do? You would create a component so that it can be used throughout. So let's use our Ember CLI to create components. So all you have to do is Ember generate. What do you want to generate? You want to generate a component. What should be the name of your component? Say animal list. Okay. Done. Now if you see carefully what all it's creating a JS file for your component named animallist.js, a HBS file, a template file, and also a test stub for it. Let's see in our code if it really created or not. Yes, it did. So all I'll do is I'll remove this guy from here, and in my animal list template, I will store this. Let's see now if this works. It's not working. Why? It's because I copied and pasted here, but I'm not invoking the component yet, right? If you want to invoke a component, you have to do this. You have to call the component in this with the handlebar mustache style. Now let's see if it comes. Yes, it does come. But still you must be thinking, hey, what is this? This is still hard-coded. Like, this is not dynamic. Say if I have 3 routes and all the 3 routes want different names of animals, this won't work, right? We want something which is more dynamic. In that case, routes come into the picture. That means, say you want to fetch the list of animals from a third-party data source. That time you will go to the route. Which route? The route that is consuming this component. So that means home is consuming right now. So we will create a home route. Home route, yes. Well, you can do this with Ember generate route as well. I'll just do this here quickly. Okay, so you remember I spoke about model function. This will be the one that would be passing in or pushing in the data to the view level. So I'll just say return same dog, cat. Oops. Okay, this is my model with an array. You can actually, you should, if it is a third party, you can always do like $.get and some JSON file that would be returning back. But for now, I'll just use simple array. Now, instead of this, it should consume the data from your home.js route. How would you do that? How would you pass the model's data to your component? In order to pass the data to the component, you remember I told you, components should be as dumb as possible. They should just take the data that is to be displayed, and that's it. They are not supposed to create their own set of data. That means you have to pass the data that they are supposed to show. How you pass the data? You pass the data from here. Say I will name this as animal list equals. Now you denote this as model. So you just say model. That means in the background, this is just an array of animals. So I'm saying, hey component, use the animal list name for you, which is an array of animals. Now I will go to my component.js. Well, we don't need that now. Now you know what is the name. It's animal list. So you will iterate over the animal list here. You will remove this. You will use the each operator of handlebar. List mouse animal, and then you will create a list of animal. Let's see if this works. Yes, it still works. That means now I'm not hard coding anything. I'm simply passing the model data, and my model data is being consumed by this component. When using this name, I am iterating over it and showing it on the screen. This means that now this is really a reusable component. Now if I go to some other route and the other route will pass some other list of model data, it will display even that. Let's make it more famous, more funky. Let's say if there is a requirement where whatever the user inputs, I want to show that in the screen as well. Like if I input one more animal name, that should be added with this list as well. No problem. Let's do that. Input value is animal name, for example. Now, whatever I type in this input box, that the value that the input box will have will be stored in this particular property named animal name. So whenever I do this dot get animal name, it will give me whatever is there in this input box. Okay, and say I create a button whose action is add animal. Okay, that means whenever I press on this button, it should add it on the list and show it to me on the screen. Let's see. Say I say snake. I say add animal. Nothing is happening. Why? Because I have mentioned add animal, but I have not yet implemented it. So this implementation has to go in my animal list JS, my components JavaScript file. Actions are basically handled in the actions block of Ember. So you write it like this. And the name of the function was add animal. So I'll write add animal and function. And then I have the list, right? This dot get animal list, which I passed in from here. Here, this animal list. So I can access that here, this dot get animal list. And then I say push object. Now note, I'm using push object, not push. Why? Because Ember deals with objects, not with primitives. So whenever I want to have some bindings or this dot get, this dot set, it's done on objects, hence push object. Then I say this dot get animal name. Where is this animal name coming from? Here, this one. Okay, that means I'm pushing the new name of the input to my already existing list. Let's see. Now I say snake, I don't know, boom, it works, right? And I can do this n number of times. Now, say you have another requirement that once you add animal, once you're done adding animals, now you want to save it in the database. What you should do? Should you put that save functionality in your component or in your route? Should be in the route, right? For that, how would you handle it through your component? Say we create a button. Let me just copy this. And I give the name as save animal. Now, somehow I have to inform the route to handle this function or the action, right? How would you do that? I have to first handle this action save animal in my component itself. And I have to do something special to let the related route know that, hey, handle this action for me. This dot send action something. Now this something should come from the one that is calling it. That is your home.hbs file. So if I say, what is the name here? Say if your route's action is save all animals. So say action is the name that I'm giving, and I'm giving the name save all animals. What do I mean by this? That means save all animals function is present in your home route, and this action is, I'll say, action. That means this dot send action when it encounters this action, it will search in this HBS what is the value of this action. It's save all animals. So it will go to the route and it will check for save all animals action. And then I'll just pass in the updated animal list as a parameter. Now I go to the home.js route. I create an action here. Name save all animals. And you remember we were passing the whole updated animal list. So just animal list. And you can do anything here like $post any /API/animals animal list or anything like this. So now, okay, now all these funky things are happening here. Now you must be thinking you're lost here. So let me give you a nutshell, a brief explanation of what just happened. Here, when you said this dot send action, when the user clicks on save animals, let's see here. Whenever you say snake and you are done updating your animal list, then you click on the save animal. As soon as you click on the save animal, it will come here. When it comes here in your component, it will check for the word, the action handler. The action handler name is action. So it will go to the calling, the one that's calling this component, and then it will see what is the value of this function. It's save all animals, so it will go to the related routes save all animal function. That's all that's happening. So basically this was a small example of how components talk to the routes and to its parent level objects. And don't get confused with this action. This can be anything. It can be even save action. But and then in this case, I have to go and change here. Instead of action, I have to keep this as save action. So it's basically just the action handler name that you're providing. Okay. Now let's go to the next example. The next example that I'm going to show you is another route. Say the route that we are creating is the user's route, or say about route. Be very simple. About. Now, what would be the use case in this about route? Let's say I want to have two input boxes, one with a first name, one with a last name, and I want to show it on the screen. Hello, first name space last name. That's it. A very simple requirement. Let's start doing it. When I say this dot route about, that means I have to create a about.hbs file. So I'll create a about.hbs file, and I'll just say hello, or just about page. Let's see. I'll do about, and here it is, about page. Now my requirement was to have first name, last name. So let's create a component, user info component. Okay, so user info JS from unknown and say you have a first name, I'll give my name, and a last name. This is the default properties that I'm setting for my component. And along with the component JS file, I should have a component template file as well. I'll create a user info.hbs file, and I'll have, as I said, two input boxes. Value is first name and last name, and then I want it to be shown as hello first name last name. Okay, very simple. Let's see. Not coming again. Why? Same thing. I have not invoked it. So I have to invoke it using my handlebar stat syntax, and then let's see. There you go. Hello, Suchita Doshi. Now whatever I change here, say if I say Tom, if I say Dave, Do you see it's even updating this guy? This is what is the data binding that I was talking about. Whatever I change here will be reflected here immediately. Not only here, if you're using the same value, this first name, somewhere else with the same context, it's going to change there as well. So this is the two-way binding that I was talking, which is very, very useful. Now let's say this is a very simple use case, like showing first name and last name. Say you had something very complex that based off on this value, you should show this value, or based off on that value, I should show something else. You can't handle all that using your handlebar. You have to do something special to handle such case. That's where your computer properties come handy. But for now, let's think of a scenario where I want to have this as just full name. Right now, it won't show up anything, right? Hello, even if I have written this. Now we will define this full name somewhere. Where would we define it? We would define it in the JS file. So I'll say full name is ember.computed, since it's a computed property. It's dependent on, and then I'll say function. I'll say return. This object first name, and then this object last name. Okay, so I'm using the ES6 syntax here. This is basically just first name space last name. Let's see if this works. Do something here. Oops, computed. Okay. Yep, here it is. Hello, Suchita Doshi again. And again, if I change something, see, it's still bound. I'm using full name here, and I'm defining it here, and I'm returning the first name, last name. So whatever I'm changing here is again reflected. Let's try changing the last name. Nothing's happening. Can anyone answer why? You can see here I am returning the first name space last name. Still, it is changing the first name but not last name. It is because I am depending only on first name. That's why it's only like showing up whatever is changing on the first name. Now if I say, hey, you have to depend on the last name as well. Now if I change something on my last name, see, it works. It works for both now. So this was something about computed properties and how powerful they will become. Trust me, once you start developing your whole app, you will find this power of computed property more and more. Okay, so this was about it for the demo. So what did we learn today? We learned how important MVC framework would become when your apps are pretty complex and if they are long living and more ambitious. Also, we learned basic core concepts of Emberjs, like routes, templates, controllers, models, components, computed properties as well. And you learned something interesting, which is Ember CLI. So now, after adopting Emberjs, Bob is in love with Ember. All right, any questions? Here we are. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me online or anywhere you feel like. You have my Twitter, it's Suchita009, as well as Suchita Doshi 1987. That's my GitHub account. I'll also be sharing the screen, this slideshow on the 10x list, as well as a link onto anyone if they want a private access. And if you guys want to learn about specific topics of Ember or need any help of any sort, feel free to come and ask me anytime. After this session, I'll be forwarding you a small survey. It would be great if you guys could give me your feedback, and that will help me understand your needs and I can make these sessions more better. Okay guys, thanks a lot for attending this session. See you again. Bye-bye.